All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined from Florida by Kris Dehnert. How are you doing, Kris?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Kris is the CEO and founder of Dugout Mugs, a company that sells drinkware made from the barrels of baseball bats. He's a serial entrepreneur with an extensive background in business growth and development, particularly in e-commerce and social media. And your journey has been marked by a focus on authenticity, building relationships, and a give-first mentality. You emphasize the company sells memories and focuses on celebrating and serving the heroes of the baseball community. And you teamed up with Randall Thompson, the original creator of the Bat Mug, to form Dugout Mugs in 2016. And I see behind you, obviously, are some of those Dugout Mugs.
Yeah, we got a few of them.
So you've sold millions of dollars worth of these mugs now, but if you boil it down, what are you actually selling? A product, a memory, or an experience?
Kind of an experience. I think so many things are cliche. A wedding, for example, you're getting a tie, you're getting a flask, you're getting cufflinks, you're getting something. Rarely does somebody show up with a customized baseball bat mug with your name down the back and, thanks for being on my team or whatever cheesy thing somebody wants to put on it. So what we're really doing is, I think we've revolutionized in a little way the gifting industry by offering something that people didn't know they always wanted.
Right.
It's a fun experience, and not just for the recipient, but for the gift giver. And I think that is why. And again, I'm gonna keep it sales related. Sales is one of my favorite things because I know that's the kind of podcast we're on. I think what we did is we allowed the gift giver to really have a good experience. And because of that, our return customer rate hovers around 20%.
Wow, that's excellent.
Because they keep coming back to the well, right? Every opportunity they get a chance to give one of these, they do it.
Yeah. And how your ideal customer has that profile evolved over time and expanded? And how do you identify the right target market for you?
Well, I think asking better questions is how you identify. Anybody that thinks they have it all the way dialed in is probably going to be short-lived, in my opinion. I think constantly polling, asking about pricing, asking about, I remember one of the coolest things we did was we asked our customer, who we thought was our customer, hey, what are we missing? And they're like, yeah, we really wish we had a lid, right? Because our mugs are like this, and it's a bat. So they're like, oh, I would give my kids really need a lid. So it's like, okay, so we listened. So we made a metal mug with a screw top lid that doesn't spill for kids. And so I think it's just really asking more questions. That's how you understand the evolution of a customer. And our customer certainly evolved. I think when we first got going with this, we were under the impression it was the baseball guy, right, that was going to get it. But what reality is, it's the mom of the baseball guy, the wife of the baseball fan, and our demographic skewed more heavily female and more heavily older. So like the 35 to 50 range versus the 21, 22, 23, 4, 5. These are the people that are just running and gunning. I don't have time for that. Oh, that's goofy. Where it was really so you have to just always ask better questions and lean into data, in my opinion, a little more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a great point. As you dug into your customer, it turns out your customer was slightly different than what you expected it to be. And I think that's a great point for people, because I think sometimes we make too many assumptions on who our customer is, and we don't drill down far enough into really granularly.
Well, and understand that it's cyclical. It's cyclical too, right? So at certain times a year, like Q2, for example, I know that I'm going more heavily targeting female because they're buying for Father's Day, right? Or graduation. The moms are always grabbing the best graduation gifts. In like Q1, Q3, I know that it's a little bit more wedding season. So now we're targeting grooms. Like, hey, you looking for something really cool for your buddies. So understanding that there's a season of different types of customers as well. Corporate gifting, again, you asked how our customer evolved. oh my God, we never saw corporate gifting coming for the life of us. And now we're making mugs for Coke and Pepsi and Coors and Bud and Fox and Capital One, T-Mobile, right? So now that's a whole different world. That's going to be more in the Q3
Hmm.
range because they're buying those end of year corporate gifts, and they got their budgets allocated, and they're like, hey, I need to find 2,000 items for under $30, right? That kind of stuff. So understanding that it can be cyclical too is really important when you're dialing it in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say, because you could look at your business and say, well, it's the seasonal business. Surely it's like popular during the baseball season. But what you just outlined is how you iron out those peaks and valleys that maybe some businesses struggle with because they are very, very seasonal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and obviously, partnering has been a big part of your business. And again, I think people sometimes don't understand that selling to partners is its own skill set in itself. Like selling the concept, selling to a partner, getting a partner on board. That takes its own skill set.
Yeah. So faith, you got to have a lot of faith, right? I
Hmm.
think, Randall, he's gone from the company now. I bought him out, almost 2 years ago, but he and I, that's the one thing we never disagreed on. You got to have faith that the other person's going to hold up their end of the bargain. And
Hmm.
again, back to reflection and asking better questions. And I think partnerships are won or lost before they're even executed.
Sure.
And that's understanding that the easiest thing for he and I was, I'm very front man, promotional, in the crowds, on the stages, in the rooms with the celebrities. I don't mind talking to anybody, whereas he was more recluse, right?
Right.
And understanding that his strength was my weakness, and vice versa. He loved being the numbers and had to know the answers and all this. And I'm like, as long as it's working, I can keep promoting, right? So we understood from the very beginning strengths and weaknesses. And the old saying that if two people are in the same lane, one's not necessary. I think that's
Right.
very real.
Uh-huh.
And from partnerships, and even with strategic partners, I don't necessarily always call everybody a joint venture partner because that has its own legal ramifications. But strategic partners, I think it's also important understanding what their core metrics are and what ours are. It's actually allowed me to create some tremendous joint venture or strategic collaborations. Because I always love to say, creating a win-win situation doesn't always require the same currency.
Right.
So
Yeah.
again, understanding from the beginning where the other person's strengths and weaknesses are can really, really help streamline collaboration and partnerships.
Yeah, no, I really like what you said there is about the win-win, and the fact that my win or your win may not be the same
Right.
currency, but actually having that approach of a win-win, I think that informs the dynamic from the get-go, because too many people still live in this scarcity world, or of where
Oh God,
even
yeah.
if I'm doing a deal with you, I somehow have to win more than you do.
Well, even the world of sales too. It's I don't think enough people are playing the long game.
Yeah.
And it's a plague. So that's why like Jesse Cole, the Savannah Bananas, and a lot of people know what Jesse's doing with that amazing team. The fans first mentality, we're customer experience first mentality, and I
Mhm.
think if more people operated that way, they would build rapport, they would build advocates of their brand versus just transactional. Because in a world where, and again, I don't know where whoever's listening here, where
Sure.
their sales typically are, but in a world of e-commerce and just commerce in general and things moving so quickly, the costs are going up. There's more and more stuff to buy, less and less dollars floating around to buy
Mhm.
it in a lot of cases. So the cost per acquisition is going up, 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 up. At some point, especially those with smaller margins or long-term LTV like goals,
Yeah.
they're going to get eaten up if they don't retain the customer. The retention of the customer is usually significantly less expensive than the
Sure.
acquisition of a new customer, and that's playing the long game. And I don't think enough people are doing that.
Yeah. So how do you retain and turn customers into fans and referrals and all that? Like, how did you take what could have been an interesting novelty into something more and build an audience and a loyal customer base?
Um, I think a lot of it's kind of started internally,
Hmm.
right? We became like all of our employees. We don't even have a lot of employees, just 8 to 10 to 12, depending on when in the year.
Sure.
They've been there for 5 or 6 years, right? Like retention internally, we created a place that people just like to be.
Hmm.
Online, we'll interview celebrities or athletes or Hall of Famers, and we just give the content away. It's like, hey,
Right.
I'm going to interview Mariano Rivera. You want to just join us and jump in and hang out for an hour and ask him questions? We're going to give away some stuff. Um,
Hmm.
Giveaways, the gamification side of sales and marketing and branding. I have a box of autographed baseball cards right up here on my desk where next month it's called Signature September. So next week we're going to just give away autographed stuff every single day, right? As a great way to there's no catch. We're just
Hmm.
giving it away. And I think what that does is it cuts through the noise, right?
Yeah.
If everybody is always out there and they just want something from you, need something from you. Now, certainly there's times of the year with our email and SMS where we'll jump in and,
Sure.
hit
Sure.
them 2, 3 times a week going into Christmas, like, hey, you're going to miss the deadline, that kind of stuff. But the rest of the time, it's like, just be somebody that somebody wants to know or follow or engage with. And I think that's a human element,
Yeah.
actually. So
100.
whether it's internal or external, I think the human element of our company is very real.
So on that note, then, how do you manage to keep that authenticity, to keep that connection with your audience as you grow? Because sometimes you get companies have that great like connection as they're smaller, they're growing, and then they lose it as they get bigger. How do you ensure that you're maintaining that authenticity and that connection with your audience?
Well, authenticity is something that I personally take very seriously.
Hmm.
My personal life, my professional life, and people know what they're getting,
Hmm.
and I'm very much having fun with this company, and I'm very much the leader of this company. So people know that if they choose to be authentic, like it's supported wholeheartedly. So I don't think it's like a strategy as much as
Hmm.
a lifestyle.
Right.
And so I don't have to keep it. I am it,
Right.
and I mean, I tell people like I speak on stages from time to time, and the first thing I'll tell them is like I am unapologetically authentic. So if something
Hmm.
I say upsets you, that's your fault, right? Like really,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just a mentality, man. That things are
Yeah.
time's short. Like be you, and people are gonna love you or hate you. And you know what? If people don't want to buy from me because they saw me on Fox and Friends doing an interview,
Hmm.
that's on them. I don't. It
Yeah.
doesn't even bother me, right? If people saw our products promoted on The View, look,
Hmm.
man. If you don't want to buy from us, that's okay. That's a you thing.
Yeah.
And again, we just let that stuff bounce off our back and just be people that people want to know, and that's who we are.
Yeah.
That's as
No,
authentic as we
absolutely.
can be.
Yeah, exactly. I can't offend you. You can only take offense.
No. What they say, what other people think about you is none of your business.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. And by the way, I totally agree with you on the authenticity thing because I've talked about this a lot. It was like word of the year 2 years ago on Merriam-Webster. So a whole cottage industry has sprung up around people like
Oh my
I'm
god.
gonna I'm gonna teach you how to be authentic, Chris. And like you said, that's
That's
about as
crazy.
inauthentic as you could get. And I believe the same thing. I always refer back to my compatriot from Ireland, Oscar Wilde, who said, "Be yourself, because everyone else is taken."
Right. I mean, how
Simple as
crazy is
that.
it that they're gonna teach you how to be authentic?
Yeah,
If there's
exactly.
any one single thing that you just should come natural, it's being authentic,
Yeah.
right? But I think so much of the world is just, I mean, we see it every single day. Turn on the TV or don't
Mhm.
actually
Yeah,
save
yeah,
yourself.
don't.
And it's like everything you see, it's just everybody trying to get everybody to see it from their perspective or like them or get likes or this or that. I said it the other day. I forget where I was, what I was talking on, but I'd rather have 5,000 people and 2,500 of them buy every
Mhm.
single time we do something cool than because we have a few million followers online.
Sure.
Some people have millions and millions of followers and they get validated by how many likes they got, not by what value they're actually bringing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a slippery slope, and thank God it's something that we've avoided.
Yeah, no, it's a thin line between metrics that actually matter to your business and vanity metrics that just make you feel good, but actually
Vanity metrics are the worst.
don't contribute anything. Uh,
Right.
and then, how are you leveraging technology while at the same time, like making sure that you keep this human element front and center?
Well, I think technology comes in when there's something that can be done better and more efficiently.
Hmm.
Our customer service is heavily AI. And not because we don't want to talk to people, because that's quite the opposite of what we do.
Right.
I want people to get taken care of faster.
Hmm.
So, I'm East Coast. So if somebody West Coast out there by you jumps on at 9 o'clock at night and they're like, I need this thing fixed, I need an answer to this thing, and it's just really important to them, that's midnight over here. Nobody's messing around with that. But now, 80, 85% of the time, things can get efficiently and effectively responded to through AI. I think
Hmm.
technology like that is amazing.
Yeah.
There's always an option. Say, hey, do you want to be connected with somebody directly? If so, it's going to be tomorrow morning when we're awake, right? So again, it's kind of like a hybrid of it. We use Shopify for our website, and the applications and things that are in there. Anything that allows us to work faster, more efficiently, and stay in our zones of genius
Hmm.
for longer periods of time, I think is a good use of technology. The
Yeah.
things that take us away from our zone of genius and distract us is not a good use of technology. Not that I should have to say that, but
Sure.
a lot of people fall down that hole.
Oh, all the time. And just tell me a little bit about focus, because there's one of the things as you start to grow business and it starts to, as it starts to become successful, there's probably 1,000 ideas of things that you could do more. You could do extra
Yeah.
things. You could do the. How do you evaluate your roadmap, like of what you want to do, and how do you make sure that you don't allow yourself get too distracted or too diluted or go outside of your lane?
Um, that's a great question, and it doesn't matter how good you are, what you've done, your accolades, and that's a daily practice,
Hmm.
right? Um, and it comes down to priorities, and that's really the underlying issue. Is people have their priorities all what up, and
Yeah.
that's their problem. It's not that they're having a hard time focusing. It's like, oh, should I go to my kid's soccer game, or should I jump on that sales call? It's like,
Hmm.
if that's a question, you have a priorities problem.
Right. Right.
You don't have a time problem. And again, that's me, and
Hmm.
that's the way I look at things. So how do I stay on track? I know what the track looks like, and there's plenty of times where like perfect example, there was something that came across my desk, and it was one of those like gray area industries. And I'm like, I mean, there are plenty of opportunity to make money. I'm like, no, that's not
Right.
going to work. And they're like, are you sure you want to look at it? I'm like, no, it's not going to work. And I've kind of trained my mind to think like that, because I ask myself questions. Can I play with my friends? Does will my kids be proud of me? Does it put good into the world? It can, is it fun? Is it scalable? Do I like the people I'm involved with? And
Right.
if any of these answers are no, dude, it's a no.
Right. Right.
And I think too many people will sacrifice their priorities, their morals, their ethics, for something as common as money. And
Hmm.
and that's really what happened when you can realize. I did a really cool talk one time, and it was about currency, and understanding that there simultaneously there's multiple currencies running around us:
Yeah.
time, experience, relationships, of course, cash, right? But you can't always measure by how much cash you're making or how much money you're making, when all these other currencies, many of them more rare and more valuable, can be acquired if you go this direction versus that direction. Obviously, it was much more in detail, but you get the idea. And I think it's changing your perspective of what currency you really should be paying attention to in that moment, and you'll start making better decisions. The no is the most important word in business. Don't forget that. Like,
Mhm.
I was a victim of it. I had so many things going on. Multitasking is the best way to screw up more than one thing at once.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I always find it's like when I used to do strategy sessions with companies, sometimes, you were doing your strategy session for the next year, people full of great ideas of all the things you should do, right? We could do this, we could do that, we could. But then when you say, okay, that's fantastic. What are we going to stop doing in order to do all these things? And suddenly people are like, oh, we're going to stop doing things. So people, they're always very quick to add things, and end up losing focus. So I think, keeping focus is incredibly important. And just
Or,
one.
or being realistic. I think
Yes.
being realistic with that. So I go to a mastermind every quarter. And when I'm there, I take no more than like 6 or 7 notes over 4 days.
Hmm.
And of those 6 or 7 notes, I'll prioritize them, wipe out the ones that I can do that can stand to wait, get it down to like 2 or 3, and then pick 2 of them. Like,
Right.
that's what we're doing. That's what we're focusing on. And again, it's really just prioritizing. And you can't do everything. You can't be everything. Just can't.
No, you can't. And just one last question I wanted to ask you
Yep.
about. One of the things that I find with people who've been very successful in sales and the best salespeople I've ever come across, preparation for their sales calls is a non-negotiable. Like doing proper preparation, and those who are mediocre, who fall, it's often because they don't prepare properly. How important is preparation to you?
Now my answer is probably a little atypical.
Mhm.
I certainly feel like I'm an expert at sales. I've been doing it for decades. It started in the gym business, actually,
Right.
selling gym memberships. But I think where my strength in sales and closing is my um, interpersonal skills and I'm witty, okay, and I can think on the fly very, very quickly. Now, certainly there have been conversations. Salespeople know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
You're talking on one side of your head, and you're the other person talking on the other side. So you kind of have an idea of what you're going to say in certain situations.
Mhm.
But I found that when I go on stage, no script,
Mhm.
no slides. I found that when I go into a conversation, I have no expectations. My number one goal on a sales call is to connect with that person. And then once I do that, it's not selling, it's telling.
Right.
Right. And that's where I found a lot of my success is I'm likable, and I'm able to connect with people and just, I mean, bulldoze any walls down. And at that point, we're having a conversation between two people. And by the way, you might be interested in what I'm doing. If you're not, no big deal.
Right.
And again, I've been doing sales long enough that like the takeaway technique and the FOMO and all the sales 101 stuff, it's almost just ingrained into my conversation. And once you get to that point, it makes having a conversation a little easier. But
Sure.
I try not to prepare, because then I go in with a specific outcome in mind, and maybe it's not it. Maybe it's not a sale, but they know the specific person that gets me into Hallmark or
Mhm.
something like that.
Right. Right.
And I stay pretty fluid in
Mhm.
most of the conversations that I do, actually.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, listen, thanks, Kris, for sharing all these insights. All of Kris's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do tell people a little bit more about you and what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Kris Dehnert. The best social to find me is going to be LinkedIn. All the rest of my stuff is private.
Mhm.
But dugoutmugs.com, we turn baseball bats into bottle openers and shot glasses and all. It's super fun.
Yeah.
And then I also own a golf company,
Yeah.
Big Golf. So again, I tried to build something around the things I love, and that's beer, baseball, golf, cigars, friends, and events and all this. So you can find me online. It's going to be pretty much the exact same person you met here today.
Excellent. Well, listen, thanks again, Kris. Thank you for watching and listening.